again, so I want to reiterate our big goals and talk about kind of, what we're trying to accomplish, I guess, long-term in our life. So I've shared with you guys multiple times. My goal is to be a millionaire by 25. It's for like 18 months to get my shiz together. I always like to talk about be, do, have, then give. So again, most people like to take the impression that, when I have more time, then I'll be a better dad. When I make more money, then I'll whatever, fill in the blank, right? But again, what we're trying to do here is become the type of people that can do the things that will allow us to have the results we want. And then later down the road, give back to others, right? So love to hear from you guys. What is a huge goal that you have in your life? Again, mine was millionaire by 25. I set that goal at 15 years old. So I'm gonna do whatever I can to make that happen. But Tyler, go first. What's yours?
I'm gonna stick with the Rolls Royce, owning a Rolls Royce by 30.
Tyler's gonna own a Rolls Royce by 30. How old are you now?
20.
20. Do you know how much a car payment on a Rolls Royce is? Like $3,200 a month or so.
3,200 a month.
What's up, man?
So,
Yep. So, okay, so Tyler's gonna own a Rolls Royce by
I
30.
have
Tyler's got one more.
I own the Utah Jazz, so I can not be stupid like they are right now.
He's also gonna buy the Utah Jazz at some point so he can improve the team dynamic and hopefully not have ugly yellow jerseys. All right, awesome. What about you, Paige? What do you got?
I want to be able to build whatever house I want when I'm 30.
Paige wants to build her absolute dream house at 30 years old with no holdback. I love it.
And then by next year, I want to be able to buy it.
And then within 1 year, pick up their first door. First.
You know what she also said this morning?
Huh.
Yeah.
She wants a Tesla as a work car, and then what? Just
The
a Sequoia as a mom car.
All right. She wants she's balling out, man.
We gotta do.
By the time Paige is 30, she'll have two $50,000 plus cars, $1 million plus home. They'll own a Rolls Royce. Damn. All right,
So we
cool.
have to sell a show today, pretty much.
Yeah.
What we're saying.
They better be making $1 million a year. Just like we're gonna make it happen. Love it. Thanks for sharing. Catherine, what do you got? What's a big goal you've had, whether you've shared it with others or not?
My goal is just to have a commission of like 12,000 by September, in September sometime.
She's gonna make 12 grand in 1 month by September. That's gonna be awesome. Casey, what do you got?
To have our first home by my next birthday next year,
When's your birthday next year?
September 4th.
By September 4th next year, Casey's gonna own their first door. Love it. Cade, what do you got?
I said sports team owner.
Sports team owner. All right, I love it. We got a couple of freaking ballers in the room. Love it. David, what's a huge goal that you've had, whether like doesn't have to be financial or anything like that, but I'm just curious, like a major lofty goal you've had at some point in your life that you want to accomplish?
I mean, I like the one millionaire by 25, but I'm 7 years behind the power curve. So we'll see if that one can happen still. If I can go
Yeah.
Benjamin Button.
Benjamin Button, nice.
So I got a lot of things I want to do in the next year. So in the next 6 months, I want to sell my house, buy a house with a mother-in-law's apartment so I can start renting that, use the capital to buy an investment property out of state. So that's in the next 6 months. Total next year, I want to buy one investment property at least and be sort of 4 transactions in real estate, buying or selling. So those are my big things over the next year.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's a good goal because with the basement apartment, it's almost like you're picking up 2 in 1, and then you could pick up a second out of state this year. So probably making at least, I don't know, a couple $100, if not more passive income. And then by next year, you pick up another one, you'll be in a good spot, especially with where the market's going. I guarantee you there's going to be some deals. So keep your eyes peeled,
Yeah.
stack your money.
And there's been like a $30,000 decrease in prices over the last 3 weeks, according to the MLS. Like the average sales price is 30K down, which is a lot.
It's going to get hairy. Buckle up. I'm excited though. Opportunity. I genuinely think in the next 18 months, there are going to be multiple people in this office alone that will become millionaires. And most people that are playing hard will add at least 1 0 to their net worth. So maybe you got $5 grand in your bank account. By next year, you're going to have at least 10, right? Cool. Cash, what do you got?
All right. By the time I'm 30, I want to earn $1 million in a year, in 1 calendar year. And then by the time I'm 40, I want to be able to own a jet. So.
Oh yeah. That's awesome, man. Karen, what do you got for me?
I want to know how old you are, Riley.
I'm 23.
Oh, way to go. Are you well on your way?
No, but I'll get there. I think,
Pete,
here's the
you-
thing, so I want to share something with you real quick before I let you go.
Okay.
This is something that Shoni shared with me and I've heard multiple times since. So normally, like, accumulating wealth happens gradually and then suddenly. So they say, like, when you set a goal, you know, the whole 80-20 principle, like 20% of the results happen 80% of the time, and then the remaining 80% happen the last 20%. If you think about that, it like lines up perfectly. So I'm committed. I'm gonna figure that shit out. I'm not gonna fail. So I just gotta go hard as hell the next 18 months. We'll figure it out though. But Karen, I'd love to hear your goal.
Well, I have to say, you look older than 23. I mean, that's probably a compliment at your age.
I
But-
definitely have aged a bit over the years. Let's hear it, though.
But I have to say, I'm 55 here, guys, and you know what? Go for it. I'm glad you're young and you just go for it. But
Karen, you're
right
still young.
now, my
55
goals,
is not-
what?
55 is not old. You're still young too. Don't kid me here.
I hope so, but you know, quality of life is slipping as far as health goes, but I'm working on it. So my goal is not as lofty as you guys, but I would like to be making 200,000 by the time I'm 60 for sure. And I want to have at least 5 rental properties. But a lot of that is I want to leave my kids money, you know, when I'm gone, and be able to help them while I'm alive. But
That's a big why. I love it.
what?
I said that's a big why. I love it.
Yeah, why does help. You're right. And but yeah, I just love real estate, and so it's easy to be excited about it. And when you're excited about something, I feel like you can do it. You know.
Yeah, your goals are 100% achievable too. That's the thing. I would encourage you to do the math on what it would take to make that happen, because you'd be surprised on how quickly you can make it happen. But no, I think that's fantastic, and I love the fact that it's also like paying it forward to your kids, because the seeds you plant now will be trees by the time they get to take advantage of it. So we'd love to support you. What's up, Stan? Carlos, you joined us. I'd love to hear a big lofty goal you have. This is something that could be short-term, long-term, but something that's like you'd be stoked to make this happen. This is like a big checkbox.
Having many rental properties that,
Mhm.
all like small goals, I guess, is like having a GTR.
GTR, dude, love it. That's awesome.
Like building on the skyline.
Yeah, you gonna import one?
What's that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, there's a guy in the office that has one.
What?
There's a guy in the office that has one.
Oh, really?
Yes, he works at First Colony. So Carlos is a car guy, so we're gonna figure out a way to get him a Nissan GTR or import a Skyline from like Japan or something.
Yeah.
That'd be sick. I love it. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing, guys. Again, it's fun to share this stuff, right? Because you just realize like everybody has like big goals, but it's also like I didn't hear anything in this room that's not achievable. Like, okay, I'll give you an example. So I saw a video today. I was listening to a video of this guy today. I just found him like last week, and he went from making $10,000 a month to $1 million a month in 22 months. Think about that. That's so I was like talking to Sir, I'm like, could you imagine if every 2 weeks you made $600,000? Like, holy. Anyways, I'm geeked out. Crazy stuff. Okay, let's move on. Big wins. If I missed something, let me know. But Tyler got 2 BBA signed this week, so making some moves. Love to hear it. Did I miss anything? Anybody else have a big win they want to share? Karen, your listing went live. That was one, but otherwise, also Austin's listing went live. But anybody else? Awesome. Good job, Tyler. Tyler, share for the group. What helped make this happen? Like, what was how'd you get these two? That's a better way to put it.
So one, their family,
Mhm.
but just calling everyone in my family, letting them know, because
Because it's a cousin that you're
Yeah,
like super close
right,
with.
I'm not
It's
close to this
like-
cousin at all, and she follows Alex that's in the office as well,
Mhm.
Alex Lasso, so she easily could have gone to Alex. But I think just making it known that we're in real estate, that we're doing stuff. helped.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Love it. So the plan works.
Yep.
So you're saying, cool. All right, let's move on. This week or today, we're doing expense management. This is something worth watching or coming to just because you probably heard the term red light, green light at KW. So this is something that we try to talk about, like not only in your personal life, but in your business, always having checks and balances for your expenses. Cause it's very, like, as you start making money, it's really easy just to let that get away from you. Like, there's definitely been years like 2020, I was stupid as hell with my money. I was making like 150K, had damn near no expenses, decided to buy 2 Jeeps in 1 month, like just started doing dumb stuff. Don't do that. So come learn from people who are further ahead of you and get their advice. And again, if you start coming to these classes, make every single one a priority to happen or to come to, because this is like Ignite on steroids. You should definitely be coming. But moving on, this next week. So I go to town this day. So in the afternoon till the next Monday, I'll be gone. Next Monday, the office will be closed. Not like this coming Monday, but the Monday after the 24th, 25th. So Thursday there'll be no team meeting, but we will be doing shifts. So I'd encourage you guys to just come to that. We're doing lunch and learn for Wealth Steps. We also have group coaching on Wednesdays for those who have earned it, and then our regular launch and coaches corner, etc. Monday, Tuesday. We're going to jump into some listing presentation training. So I'm going to pretend that one of you guys who wants to be my candidate, I'll do a listing presentation for you.
Okay.
All right, cool. So I'll bounce back and forth. We can both include you, Cash. But okay, so we're jumping into it. So a couple things, I didn't put this in the notes, but it's just verbal. So if you want to take notes on your phone or something, the things I always come prepared for with the listing presentation are stats. And more specifically, I compare our numbers to Homey because I try to just use them as an easy, low-hanging fruit for if someone tries to negotiate my commission or tell me I'm not worth what I'm charging, I use them as a demonstration. And I can show you guys here in a second. I'll pull those up at the end. But in the event someone tries to discount my commission, I do 2 things. Number one, I'll start with statistics. So I'm more of a show me, don't tell me kind of person. So I'll try to use a brokerage that has a lower statistical sales average as far as like the money they put in their seller's pocket to justify what I'm charging. As of this month, Homey is 2.1% more expensive than us because they undersell houses on average 2.1% lower than our brokerage. But then my personal, and obviously you guys don't have a track record yet, but once you do, then it's like my personal average is 106 to 110% of list price. So I'm actually 6% less expensive than Homey is, and I'm charging them a full commission. Based on the fact, on average, I'll make them more money to sell their home, right? So that's something I come prepared with. And then obviously, I would encourage you guys, don't make this mistake. This has already cost me 1 listing. Do not come prepared with the listing packet, like all your docs. Because I started relying on Jen's team to just send them for me. That's not a bad thing. It saves you time. I'd have them maybe help draft them up and review them with you. But take a written copy. Older people don't like DocuSign. And I lost a listing recently because I didn't have the documents with me. They were ready to go on the spot, send them later. They didn't sign. And then a week later, they changed their mind. So just quick advice. So bring a written copy of the documents. What else do I bring? I'm superstitious. Use a red KW folder. The black ones are bad luck. So, okay, move on. So this is my guide to selling your property. Again, I've changed this to not say listing consultation. I like to not use terms that sound like they shouldn't be here, right? Like,
If anyone's hungry, got leftover Herluskas.
nice.
They are delicious. So
Thank you, sir.
Eat them up.
I appreciate you. So the thing that you guys want to do is when you're talking with people, the way you say things matter, right? Ultimately, yeah, we're meeting with them to get a listing. Like that's the whole intention behind it. But does that mean you need to tell them like, this is a sales presentation? No, right? This is how we're going to sell your house, right? This is the guide to selling your property. That sounds a lot different and it's obviously more beneficial for them. So I usually sit down with someone to say, okay, so obviously normally I come to their house, I have them walk me through the home. I ask them questions as we walk through. I try to identify as I'm just walking through, like, how's the condition? Am I noticing things in blatant disrepair? Does it look like they've updated? If they have, I'll ask them, when was this updated? Was it you or the last owner? How long have you lived here? Like things that I don't know, I'll kind of just come curious and try to get an idea on their property because I've already looked at it doing comps, right? But it's always good to get reassurances like, Cash and I, we walked through one together. Like, oh, we kind of started finishing this during COVID, but then we got busy with work once, we stopped working from home. So it's unfit. Those are all things you want to know because it's like you can make recommendations along the way. So again, you're going to do a walkthrough with them. And then you always want to take your territory. By that is like when you first walk in, it's always good to say, hey, can I set my stuff at the kitchen table? Great. Because you're planting the seed, you're going to come back there. That's where you're presenting. Easiest place to. I did it on a couch the other day and still got a listing, but ideally, kitchen table. Come back, you pop up your laptop, or maybe you do. I don't like doing this on paper personally. I think this presentation is better done digitally, looks cleaner. So I'll pull up my iPad or my laptop. We'll say, Craig, okay, great, let's go through it. So this is our guide to selling your property. So you guys obviously don't have credentials yet. You guys could throw something in here with KW. We're the top brokerage in Utah County. Statistically, we outsell everybody, whatever, right? So I did something to build my track record. So I'll say, yeah, Listen, I know that you're a family friend, Cade. We've known each other for a long time, but I don't expect you to use me just because of that. I truly want to earn it. And so I want to show you who you're working with, right? So here are some of my personal credentials. So I was a top 250 agents in Utah County. I was the Keller Williams Rookie of the Year in 2020. I've been the agent of the month twice out of 350 agents in my office, right? So I just want to let you know that I do have a proven track record and I am who I say I am, right? Here's my contact info in case you don't have it. Let's move on. So quickly, I just want to talk about our beliefs and mission. So we believe when we take care of others' needs, we in turn get taken care of. Our goal is to provide you with the best information, services, and tools possible to make this whole process easy. So our philosophy, again, involves putting our clients first in every single thing we do. I don't have this section that we don't cost you money, we make you money in your guys' slide because I don't want you guys to overpromise and underdeliver. Not because I don't trust you, but I'm to the point now where I'm confident that anybody's house I list, I'll make them more money than anybody else. And even if that's not technically true, it's true because I'm convicted in that sense and I'll make it happen, right? It is technically true based on my track record, but initially it wasn't. That's just like what the standard I held myself to. So what I'll normally say is, and you guys could say something similar, you guys don't have to say we don't cost you money, we make you money, but I'll say my guarantee is I'm not going to cost you money, I make you money. What I mean by that is I don't want to be involved if it means you're making less money to hire me. My whole goal is to put more money in your pocket when this is all said and done and make you as much money as possible that you otherwise would not have made without me. Is that fair? Awesome. So on my team, we're Right Key Real Estate. So I always say we give you the key to experience real estate the right way. And then I'll jump into that spiel. But that's kind of the simple verbiage I use or scripting, right? Great, let's move on. So I want to talk quickly, Kate, about how people find houses. So you'll see here back in 2020, 52% of buyers found their homes based on the internet. 29% found them from agents directly. And you'll see there's some other statistics here like yard sign and open house, friend, relative, or neighbor, maybe directly from the seller, and then print, advertising, right? In my opinion, the best marketing plan is one that targets channels buyers are already using to find houses. And we want to obviously get as much exposure as possible on all these different channels. Our marketing plan is very heavy on the first two, internet and real estate agent, because statistically, what's going to make you more money, right? But we also don't fail to not hit the other boxes and make sure we're diligently searching for your buyer. Does that make sense? Awesome. Let's move on. So Kate, I quickly want to talk about other agents' marketing plans. So most agents, they use what we call the 3P method. So they're going to come put a sign on your yard, they're going to put it on the market, and they're going to pray it sells for top dollar. Outside of that, they don't have any real marketing plan to make sure you're guaranteed to make top dollar. Do you think you deserve a better marketing plan than that? Mm-hmm. Right? So you ask questions like that throughout that to obviously it's a no-brainer. It's like, they're not going to say, no, I think that's what I deserve, right? But you're just reiterating the fact you're getting them on board with what you're saying, right? Okay, great. So any questions so far, Kate? I was asked that as one go along. Perfect. So internet marketing. So when you list with me, your house will be put on 1,000+ websites. I like to say every website, every app, everywhere. So I'm going to make sure that no matter where somebody can search for real estate in Utah, your house will be listed on that website. Fair? Awesome. Media plan. So in addition to the MLS and local and nationwide websites, we're going to put your house in the super popular KSL Homes and Facebook Marketplace. So the reason I do this is because number one, it's free, believe it or not, but most agents are too lazy to take the time to list your house on KSL and Facebook. Now let me ask you, Cade, have you ever spent time on KSL or Facebook shopping for stuff you probably don't need? Right? I do all the time. So why wouldn't we put your house in front of the hundreds, if not thousands of extra buyers who are getting creative in their home search? You probably heard inventory has been low these last couple of years. So people are doing whatever they can to find that perfect house. We're going to do whatever we can to put it in front of them, even on these free marketing platforms where, again, there's hundreds, if not thousands of extra buyers, right? Let me ask you another question. You ever been talking with your friend about fishing and then all of a sudden you get a random ad on your phone about fishing? Yes. So with KW, we have that type of technology, more specifically on Facebook and Instagram, where we'll do targeted advertising. So if there's somebody who's looking for a home in Utah County under 500,000, and they've been actively searching on the internet, we're going to make sure your house pops up in front of their Facebook and Instagram and follows them around on the internet henceforth. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Awesome. So unique marketing. So a couple of the things that we do to make sure we get top dollar for your home is we're going to put on a well-marketed open house. We like to create a pressure-free environment for people to be able to come browse your home. And I'm going to be there, or one of my teammates, or in your case, it'll be you. But for me, I say myself or one of the agents in my office will be there. We'll make sure to walk them through the house, answer any questions, and see what we can do to qualify them and get them excited about your home, potentially make an offer, right? We also present our listings to over 100 top agents in Utah at our brokerage every week on Tuesday for our team meeting. This allows me to bring attention to your property, brag about it a little bit. And also some of the agents in my office are also investors And so there's an option for us to kind of get double marketing there. And at least 100 people show up every week, if not more. We've got 350 total people in the office. Okay. And then finally, we do high quality professional photography. You guys don't do aerial shots. On mine, I do pay for aerial shots. So I do talk about that. On yours, you just take that section out, right? So we do high quality professional photography on every home. This creates the first impression. The way I want you to think about it is your first showing really happens online, right? So if somebody looks at your house and you list with some discount agent who comes in with their cell phone and takes crappy photos, what are they going to think about your house when they see it compared to mine, where it's taken in the best quality lighting and it's obviously giving them the best impression? My whole goal is to make a $500,000 house look like a $700,000 house just because of the photos. I want them to show up not trying to verify the condition, but just doing one last check to make sure they love it before they make us an offer. Does that make sense? Awesome. So let's talk about pricing your house right. So I got two graphs here that talk about pricing your home. So you're probably familiar, and if not, I'll explain, with the sellers versus the buyer's market. Are you familiar with the differences?
Yeah, I think so.
Awesome. So I'll quickly touch on it, but a seller's market is where there's more inventory, or excuse me, there's less inventory than total buyers or total demand, right? A buyer's market is the opposite, where there's more houses than available buyers. And so we're kind of going towards a buyer's market right now, but in the last couple of years, we've been in a seller's market. So obviously I'm on my laptop, so I'm actually demonstrating this. So what I like to show here is we've got two different ways to look at pricing your house in a seller's market. You've got condition versus comps, meaning how nice is yours compared to the ones that have sold nearby, as well as price. How well is it priced compared to the others? And you'll see as you trend up and down on either of these scales, you'll end up out of the market. Your best option is to be somewhere in that sweet spot where you're priced competitively to other homes, as well as condition wise to other homes that have sold. You'll see as we move towards a buyer's market, our margin of error is even lower. So it's never been more important to price your house correctly, right? So we're going to talk about a couple of things. A property generates the most interest when it first hits the market. The number of showings is greatest during this time if it's priced at a realistic market value. Starting too high and dropping the price later misses the excitement and fails to generate strong activity. And lastly, many houses that start high end up selling below market value. So pricing your property competitively will generate the most activity from agents and buyers, and pricing your property too high may make it necessary to drop the price later. And in my mind, I like to say, chase the market down, right? So if you're looking at a community where you've priced too high, your neighbor lists, they're a little bit more competitive, someone else lists and they're a little bit more competitive than them, where are we left? We're left chasing the lowest person to get the traffic we need to get your house sold. Does that make sense? So pricing right to attract buyers, what this little graph here shows is where you've priced the house as far as above or below market value and the percentage of buyers in the market statistically you're going to hit. Now, I'm just going to say up front, I'm never going to encourage you to list your, and this is where I tell people, because when they see this, they're like, what? I'm not going to price my house 15% below the market to get 90% of buyers, right? So I'll normally say, I'm going to talk about this up front. I never want to be this guy and I never want to be this guy. I want to be somewhere in the middle to get you not only the most amount of buyers possible, but also to sell your property for truly what's top dollar based on the price, condition, and so on, right? So pricing your property, the first 14 days are critical. Most offers are received between days 3 and 5 of being on the market statistically over the last couple of years. And like I told you earlier, the problem with being on the market longer is you end up chasing the market down, and what your market value could have been is now going to be lower. Does that make sense? Right? So I'm gonna give you an example, Cade. If I'm taking you shopping next week looking for houses, and I have 2 options only for you, and I have one that just got listed this week, and I have one that's been on the market 30 days, what are you going to think about that second option when I first send it to you?
Yeah, there's something wrong.
Right. What else?
Uh,
If not, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I normally, if they get stumped, I'll say, in my mind, if I was a great agent, like I know I am, I'd be telling my buyer, this is the one we're going to go hammer and negotiate on and get the best deal possible compared to the one that was just listed. We're going to tiptoe around and be a little bit more cautious because we don't know who else is looking at it. So let me ask you, if we have your house set on the market, we list it too high, and it's on the market 30 days, what type of offers or buyers do you think we're going to get?
not the best.
Right. And what will probably happen?
It won't sell.
Or will most likely sell for less than what you're wanting it to. Right, exactly. So let's talk about a couple pricing misconceptions. And a couple of these are not applicable unless you bought the house last year. What you paid is irrelevant. You probably bought it 15 years ago. So either way, you're going to make money, right? But what you need, what you want, what your neighbor says, what another agent says, the cost to rebuild today, price on Zillow, those are all irrelevant. We're going to talk about how values are actually determined, right? So the value of a property is determined by what a buyer is willing to pay, what a seller is willing to accept, and what an appraiser is willing to assess when it comes to the value of your home. Anything other than that is just speculation. Is that fair? Awesome. And then normally you have two options. You guys determine this. My process, I'll normally show them comps at this point. We'll kind of talk about pricing and then I'll come back to it later, or you can wait to the very end. My goal here is to then jump into my track record again. So I've kind of talked about myself just a little bit, talked about my sales process, gonna retouch and build value in myself before we go into negotiating commission and finalizing a price. Does that make sense? So at this point, I'll say, so we sell 1 to 2 houses a week and our clients are happy. Currently, we have over 65 Google reviews. They're all 5-star. So you're welcome to look at my track record. And then depending on the person, I'll judge them based on like how engaged they are. If they're like the type that wants information, I'll kind of, touch on a couple of reviews. If not, I'll just breeze past it. Our results so far. So I have this in here again. You guys don't have this slide. That's okay. I'm just giving you an example of what because again, you adapt it to yourself as time goes on. You may have 2 extra slides that I have that I don't have. You may have 1 less than me. It doesn't matter. Again, it's the same kind of process. Most people, they don't actually need this part of it. Based on what we've already covered, would you say that was a pretty good presentation and it built a lot of value, right? This is just the icing on the cake, which you guys are going to have as you build your track record, right? So then at this point, I'll say, I want to talk about my results last year. So I'm not really going to touch on each of these. These are 3 houses I sold last year, but I just want to touch on the most important numbers to you, Mr. Anderson. Average sold to list price is 110%. So what that means is for every house I've sold in the last year, I've normally sold them for 10% above what we listed them for. And what that actually means for you is I've put an average of $34,322.50 extra in your pocket than what we talk about today. Now I'm going to set some expectations real quick. Is the market changing? And they're going to say, yes. Okay, great. This is probably going to be somewhere around 106. I'll even tell them like my stats are going to go down because part of this was the market, but it wasn't all the market, right? So my average days on market prior was 5 days, meaning from the time a sign was put in your yard to the time we had an offer in my inbox was 5 days. And from the time we accepted that offer to close is 20 days. So try to illustrate that not only am I making them the most money possible, we don't sit on the market 3 months to do it. It's a very quick, refined process, right? Let's talk about the closing process. So it's, may have been, if it's an older person, like it's probably been a while since you bought or sold a house, or, when's the last time you bought and sold a house is probably a better question. Don't make an assumption. You might say, oh, it's been 50 years. Okay, awesome. Well, no problem. I just want to quickly remind you kind of what it looks like to go through that process. So disclosures. So I'm going to have you fill out a document called the seller's disclosure, Kate. And what that's going to do is it's going to tell the buyer everything you know about the property, how long you've lived here, have you used it as a rental, what issues it has, what good things are about it, so on and so forth. We're going to give that to the buyer within days 1 to 7 of going under contract, right? So within a week of going under contract. The buyer is then going to use that to do an inspection. This is where they're going to have a licensed inspector come to the house. It takes about 3 hours. Buyers may ask for some repairs. We have 3 options. We can either negotiate to fix them, pay the money for the repairs, or do nothing. Obviously, in an ideal world, we do nothing, but depending on what comes up, there may be a time when we have to negotiate. Just to let you know, I'm happy to take care of that. And there's no, no stress. We'll get the deal done regardless. Okay. That's going to happen within 2 weeks of going under contract. Lastly, you've got financing and appraisal. So this is going to happen within 2 or 3 weeks of going under contract. This is where the appraiser will come give us the final value on the home, as long, if it's not a cash buyer. And then the buyer will finish off their loan details and submit it to underwriting, where all the final loan details will be checked. And then finally, we're going to settle and close up to 45 days later. As we talked about earlier, my average is 20 days. I'd expect about a month just to be safe. This is where you're going to go sign all the paperwork. A business day later, ownership is transferred, all money is dispersed, and your home is officially sold. Any questions? Awesome. For us, where do we go from here? And again, this is where I'm recapping expectations. Like we're moving forward, right? That's kind of the goal. So, and obviously this one, they can say, well, we need time, whatever. That's where you handle that. We'll talk about objection handling, but where do we go from here? So for us, we're going to, so my team's going to coordinate the photography. We'll cover that. So don't worry about that. Our team will send you out invites. I do this. You guys may not do this. It's okay, but I would encourage you to. It's not a bad thing. Send out invites to deadlines and key dates, and then we'll start pre-marketing it to peers, meaning we're going to start spreading the word about your house coming on the market, right? For you, I call these the 3 Ds of real estate, okay? So we're going to have you depersonalize the home. Again, that doesn't mean you need to move out by any means, but just think about a model home, right? If you were walking through the house, what would you like it to look like if you were buying it, right? Deep clean. So have the house deep clean. Your home can never be clean enough. That's a huge thing to make a great first impression for a buyer. If you need a contact for a cleaner or any resources, let me know. And then declutter. The less in your home, the bigger it looks. So if you're walking through bumping into stuff, chances are you're used to it because it's your house, but a buyer may take that the wrong way. They want to know that they can come in and imagine their stuff in the home as well. So happy to help you with either of these things, but that's a simple way you can get your house ready for sale. Any questions? Awesome. And then at this point, obviously we're all done. So I would then go into negotiating my commission. Something I told Cash yesterday, I had a little aha, I heard this in a little sales training. You walk into a store and someone says, hey, can I help you? And you say, no, I'm just looking, right? Most people's first initial response when they're asked for, a commitment of some sort is to say no or to resist. And so, normally I would say something along the lines of like, okay, guys, well, I'm going to give you a quote today on what you'd walk away with in your pocket when this is all said and done. We probably at this point have already agreed on a price on the home. And the great thing is too, is the slides already have the verbiage you need to handle objections for pricing. So they say, well, my neighbor said, remember, pricing misconception, although that's important to consider, is that what we make our final decision on? No, right? You just keep coming back to that. You're going to handle, you'll be just fine, right? So I built that in there for a reason, to set the expectation, but for you not to flounder when they start giving you resistance. You can say, oh, we just talked about this, right? Remember such and such reason, right? But again, when negotiating my commission, an easy thing to ask somebody is, would you be opposed to moving forward? Right? What are they going to say? No, but what they're really saying is yes. You're giving them the option to, does that make sense? It's reverse psychology. You're not saying, okay, so do you want to move forward? They could start to backpedal, but would you be opposed to? Well, no, I wouldn't be opposed to, or offended by. Does it make sense? Like if it's like, hey, Tyler, are you offended if I use your charger? No, I'm not offended. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? So I'd encourage you guys to think about that. That's an easy way to close. And ultimately, you guys don't have to take the approach of quoting them a net on the spot. I think it's good practice because there's a couple things that quoting them numbers on the spot will do. Number one, it will let you know how much they're making when they step away from the home. So if they're a buyer, if they're now going to become a buyer, you know how much money total you have to work with for down payment and closing costs and everything else moving forward. But it's also good to do that so they're transparently aware of like, I can count on around this. I'm going to count on around $200,000 in my pocket when this is all said and done. Another thing, psychologically, it's a lot easier to negotiate a $30,000 commission when we're working off of $300,000 compared to them just focusing on your commission, right? So by me quoting them that, I don't even literally say to them, I'm charging you 6%. I have an app for this, plug in the net sheet numbers. I hit 6% for the commission. I hit calculate and I say, how does that sound? Sounds pretty good, right? Let's move forward, right? Then if they start asking questions, that's where I handle objections, but I don't create an objection situation before I need to. Does it make sense? Like I don't go into it like, I'm going to charge you 6%. Is that okay? No? Okay. And then also, if they start to negotiate my commission, I don't go, okay, let me just discount. I say, okay, well, I recommend you offer a 2 to 3% a minimum buyer's agent commission. Here are the benefits of offering more agent for a buyer's agent. You're basically fishing. You're incentivizing them to bring you the big fish, right? The best offer you can. So that's okay. You want me to charge you 5%? That's totally fine. We're going to offer a 2% buyer's agent commission. And here are the pros and cons of doing that. Is that okay? Does it make sense? You're not negotiating off of your side. You have to protect your money first. And that's what I'm saying is the way I'm teaching you to go about doing business, you may not feel like it now, but you are worth it. I promise you, because the way you're going to go about like the value they get from working with you and our team, and especially me as your coach, Jen as your transaction coordinator, like there's so much built in there that you don't even know what you don't know yet, but you're going to nail it better than 99% of agents out there just off the systems we built, let alone how I'm coaching you to show up for your clients. Does that make sense? So do your best to not discount. There are times when it will probably happen in your career, but you should have a hard standard for yourself that's not your first attempt to get business. You're not the discount agent because it's a lot harder to charge more later. Does that make sense? And secondly, I promise you expenses will get higher as you continue to this business. Yeah, I'm making $200,000 a year. It also costs me $100,000 to stay in business a year at least. So every time I go discount a commission, yeah, I'm shaving off $3,000 for the seller there, but I'm also on the back end paying for it. Does that make sense? It's a business after all, I have to treat it like it. So any questions, comments, ahas? Cash?
Is this, so I look on Trello, this is the same one on Trello.
Yes, this is the exact same presentation that's currently, it's also on the Pro Team website. I'll check Trello real quick. It should be on there. If it's not, I'll update it.
It's the one that I look on Trello, is where I'm at.
The black one? Yeah, so just Cash's question was, is this our current presentation? It is. I'll have Ritz update Trello. It's on our Pro Team website under marketing and presentations. But this is the new listing presentation I would encourage you guys to start using. I'll humble brag about it. The things I love about this is it doesn't really talk about KW a whole lot, right? It's not over the top salesy. It's nitty gritty meat and potatoes information that makes you look like a pro, because again, you come from if you establish yourself as like the educator or the resource, being the salesperson is so much easier, right? Being the consultant is so much easier because you're building credibility and you're also the one giving them the information. Most people don't come prepared with something like this. Their presentation is all about them, right? But this is more about the process, like what you offer, not you as an individual agent. Does that make sense? Any Zoom ahas, questions, concerns, comments?
I have a question. How can we get that app that calculates what the seller will make?
I believe Real Advantage has one, so I'll talk to Burgundy, and if not, I'll tell them to make one. They do?
Yeah, they're at.
Yeah, Real Advantage has an app, so I would get that app, and then we could even do a training on how I go about that. But to be dead honest with you, I use NWest Title. That's just because I've been using it for 3 years, not because I hate Real Advantage. I definitely think you guys should use Real Advantage. But on their app, I just plug in sales price, property taxes, commission, whether or not I think they're going to pay concessions. And I set a closing date, which I always put 30 days from today. So I say, assuming we close 30 days from today, this is the number you're going to walk away with in your pocket. Be very careful and calculated when you're plugging in numbers, because again, it's a benefit if you do it right. It's a total detriment if you do it wrong, because what if you forget to plug in your commission and then it's like at closing, they're like, what happened to the $30,000 I thought I was going to make, right? So be cautious there. But the great thing with this presentation, especially as we move into a shifting market, is that these skills are necessary. The last 2 years, you could go take a listing, price it wherever you want, and it's going to sell. That's not the case anymore. You have to know how to handle your sellers and set proper expectations, because ultimately that's not only going to make you look like a pro, but you're going to save them heartache later from having to fire you and go hire an agent who knows what they're doing. Does it make sense? So learn how to do it properly. Any other questions or ahas? Was that helpful? So what I would encourage, awesome, thanks guys. What I encourage you to do is make sure your presentation for buyer and seller are built. We're gonna, like I say, go through these trainings every month. So come to them. Again, you're gonna pick up on new stuff every time. It's always good to have the conversation. But I would encourage you to also pick a partner on the team or make a time with me to role play so I can get you guys sharp on these things so you're not practicing on your clients. It didn't like, this is different. Like I've had the same listing presentation for like a year. This is new because I had to recreate it for myself and you guys. But yeah, it's good to memorize and kind of get that scripting down, because now I can kind of do it like the back of my hand. Like don't even have to really look. I'm more focused on the client and their body language and maybe some questions that are coming up as they go along, not so much what I'm going to say. So that's why role playing and internalizing these things is important, because it allows you to just flow through it and you just look like if you're a, I don't know, a stud, for lack of a better word. Does it make sense? Carlos?
Do you have these presentations like in Spanish?
No, but we can definitely make that happen. I don't know that Rich speaks Spanish, but I'm sure we can work out, if you want to translate them, I'm sure we can work out paying you for it. Yeah. Or if not, we'll find somebody. But yeah, I would love to get them in Spanish. That'd be a solid idea. Any other questions?
Riley, I will just say that, I use this presentation with my clients of my listing right now. And it was the first time I really did it, so it was not as smooth as you do it, but they were still quite impressed. And it was a great way to follow it. Yeah, I mean, you really can just read it if you need to. But when I went to tell them about the 6%, they said, "Oh, really? I thought it was higher than that."
Yeah, that's
So
happened
that
before.
was pretty good.
Yeah, I've had sellers before be like, "You don't charge that much," and I'm like part of me is like, damn, I could have charged more, but then I'm like, no, like that's plenty. I don't care. This is great. That's awesome. That's what you want though. That's a much better thing to hear than you're charging me too much. But that's what I'm saying. And obviously those are like, people that know you a little bit, Karen, but you nailed it. That's a great thing with these presentations. I built them. So if you don't know anything about the process, go through them and read them yourself and you will learn, I promise you. Same with our buyer's presentation. I wrote it so if you send it to somebody, they could read it themselves and get sold. Does it make sense? Don't do that, but you get the idea. What was your question,
But really,
Karen?
you are so correct about really what you need to focus on is educating the client, because, well, I'm a hairstylist and I have been for 35 years. And I know now that is the biggest thing. People will be like, "Oh, you're so good. You're so good." And it's basically I'm pointing out things and teaching them things
Right.
that, yep, that's about it.
Yep. I appreciate that. You build credibility that way versus like hard selling them, like sign the agreement. Like it should not even be like, oh, I don't want to sign this agreement. It should just be like, this is just the next step. Cool, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like you're just breezing through it. Again, we'll go in more specifics. If you have a listing appointment coming up, grab me. I'm happy to either one, come with you, or two, try to get you prepared for it, role play, whatever I can do to support you. Austin, I know you missed part of this. We will record it. I'd recommend you go back through and watch it. And same with Carla. There's a couple things you may have missed. Definitely worth watching. And again, we're going to do this every single month. Team meeting from now on will not just be fluff. Like anything we engage with will be either tough love or great training at this point. So we'll get it done. But yeah, we'll move on, guys. Last couple slides. Go back over here real quick. Couple of classes coming up next week. We've got Shift, obviously, happening today and every Thursday after. I would come to this. I think it's a no-brainer. They also provide lunch. Finance and Wealth Building Series taught by Kristen Cole. I think anything like this is good to plant some positive seeds in your brain about making some money. Next week, we have Coach's Corner. So for those of you who have not joined us, Coach's Corner is a one-time a week opportunity for anybody at any level in the program to jump on a Zoom call with me, and we're going to just talk about whatever comes up. So any questions you guys have, we do deep dive training. So what do we talk about this week? Smart plans, expired listing tactics, FSBOs. This is the one, because obviously I have to have some form of training structure for you guys, but this is the one chance where we could just go into we could talk about geo farming, we can talk about my business, my smart plans, like numbers, whatever, I don't care. So again, anytime you guys need help with the client or situation, negotiation techniques, prospecting strategy, sales support, Mondays at 2:45. We're also doing a class on July 18th for all about seller financing. You definitely need to come to this. Boyd Brown co-owns this office as well as the other KW offices in Utah. One of like the biggest commercial killers or sharks in Utah. And I think it's very important you guys have the skill set. I've been transparent with you guys. I don't even know how to do a seller financing deal because I haven't had to the last 3 years. But I guarantee you, with interest rates hitting 8% probably by the end of the year, this is something you're going to have to know, right? So make sure you come. Transaction Tuesday, again, this is like your one-on-one with Jen. I think it's super important to pick her brain. Jen has like a total powerhouse of knowledge. And I think if you're not engaging with her actively, you're making a mistake. Realities of meth contamination. I've had 3 houses in the last 90 days test positive for meth. It's worth knowing how to get through that process because you don't want to be the person in the transaction bringing the emotion, right? So you don't want to be the one stressing your seller out like, well, I don't know, wigging out. Know the stuff ahead of time. So when you're in the situation, you'll handle like a pro and they're not going to know you're new. Like if you guys go to these classes and those situations come up and you already know how to handle them, they're gonna be like, you just started in real estate a month ago. This is crazy, right? That's the goal. And then lunch and learn. Yep.
Hey, so do you always suggest having the test for meth?
With buyers, I leave it up to them and I just try to explain to them the pros and cons. I'm kind of I try to be as protective as possible with my clients, but also like, again, I don't want to be the person bringing the emotion or stress. I always make sure they understand the implications of their decisions, but I never heavily push them one way or the other. The only thing I really push on is a visual inspection because that's like a no-brainer. Like you have to know what you're buying. Meth, mold, radon, allergens, like there's so many different tests out there that it's almost like for the buyers that are like ultra concerned, they're going to buy everything under the moon and buckle up, you're going to have some negotiations to do. And there are some buyers that are like, I'm going to have my sister, brother's, cousin's, uncle walk through it for 5 minutes and call it good, you know? So I think it's worth explaining to them. And especially if the house is really old or there's like blatant signs, like I'm not trying to be judgmental, but if you walk in a house and it just looks like really cracked out, like maybe nudge them a bit on it. Does it make sense? But you'll be able to tell most of the time. But you'd be surprised too. I had a fully remodeled as of 6 months ago house up in Salt Lake. It's like a beautiful house, test positive for meth. Chances are it was due to meth being in like the HVAC from before they remodeled it. Like it's a deep dive. There's that house, we never found out where the meth came from. So it's like, it's positive, but how? We don't know if it's carpet, paint, walls, if it's in the HVAC, if it's a false positive, you never know, right? So that's where I try not to nudge those things too heavily because you could just create problems, but also educate your clients on what they need to know. Lessons learned today. I'd love to hear from you guys a couple takeaways from that listing presentation. Thanks. Good. Glad to hear that. Tyler?
Bringing stats and comparisons to the other brokerages.
Yep.
So 6% or however let's do it.
Yep, exactly.
Something good just for like space.
And I like the part where you talk about don't discredit them, but don't pay attention to like neighbor other agents because
Yep.
I feel like especially right now, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, Zillow says my house is worth this much, or this website says I can get this much out of it. It's like, it's not always accurate.
Yeah, 100%. So I'll touch on that. So Cash, comp and listing presentation. So thank you, Cash. Tyler was saying just the general flow of the listing presentation. And then I was gonna say, going off of objections, talking about like, well, my neighbor says, Zillow says, so on. On your guys' scorecard, I've probably got the email. I simplified it. I removed like half the tabs. I just made it very straightforward. It's basically a simple action plan and a way to track who you're working with. I mean, that's simple, right? In the core competencies list though, and I may even change the name of that, like maybe just call it need to knows, right? The need to knows list, there is a section on there that talks about your role playing with your buyer and listing presentation. There's a list of 5 objections, I believe, on each one. When you're going through your listing presentation or buyer presentation with the partner, those are the objections you need to know how to handle. Well, Catherine, Zillow says my house is worth 680. You're telling me it's 540. Why is that? What would you say?
Going back to the listing presentation, says that how do you get a number of this company? How much do you think it's under?
Yep, exactly. Another way you could say it too, and I didn't talk about this earlier, so obviously you guys want to know. It's kind of a trick
What did
question.
she say, actually? What did she say? I couldn't hear.
You're good. She just said you go back to the listing presentation and talk about basically in short words, take that into consideration, but that's not what you make your final decision on, right? But what I would say too is if they really press that even after setting the next, like what if they said that after all that? Well, no, I'm not listing it for 540 because Zillow says, okay, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, here's the thing you got to think about. Utah is what's called a non-disclosure state. Do you know what that is? Nobody knows what that is. So no, they don't, right? What that means is that if you are not a licensed brokerage, you cannot get access to sold data on properties. So your neighbor said they sold their house for 630, they're bullshit and they sold it for 610, right? Does that make sense? I can actually see exactly what they sold it for because I have access to sold data, unlike Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin. They're using a statistical average of that area, not specific comparables to your house like I'm showing you here. So although that's good to take in consideration, what is the factual data, right? What I'm showing you here. So does it make sense? So a buyer, here's the best thing about that. A buyer is going to look on Zillow and, oh my gosh, this house is a total deal. They may offer us a bunch of money for it, but outside of that, there's no real like merit to what Zillow says. Does it make sense? So hopefully that helps. Again, non-disclosure state just means sold data is not accessible to people who are not licensed agents. Does it make sense? Okay, perfect. Yeah, yep, exactly. So crazy stuff. You'll hear that stuff though, or, you know, this other agent said, like, I'll give you an example. Becca Summers in our office had a listing presentation. She went on listing appointment and she was actually able to ask the seller because they just kept budgeting on price. And they're like, she's like, okay, so you hired or interviewed another agent. Do you have the comps that she brought? And they're like, oh yeah, we do. Here, let me show you. And the lady was comparing split level to a Rambler. And that's why her price was so off. So then Becca had to take time to go, okay, let me explain to you why this is wrong. And they ended up listing with her even at a lower price and a higher commission because the other agent just grabbed comps in the area and said, here you go. But like, would you like, if you were shopping, what's worth more, a split level or a Rambler? So a house you walk in and it goes up and down, or a regular house, let's say, right? Yeah, exactly. Rambler always is going to be worth more. And so stuff like that is important. And that's where you got to come curious with your appointments. And if they start asking objections or having objections, try to handle them with the verbiage and scripting we know or that I've taught you or we practice. But sometimes it's just a matter of just being like, all right, cut the crap, like explain, like, what do you mean? Oh, well, so and so, does it make sense? Like in that situation, she could have spent an hour trying to build value in herself or whatever, but she could just cut right to the chase, found out why they were thinking what they were thinking, and then handled that specifically. This random objection tip, treat objections like complaints until they're true objections. And so what I mean by that is when somebody says, I'll give you an example. When Cash and I sold cars, like 90% of people that are shopping for cars, they don't know what a payment on a car is. And so they're like, I want the loaded Super Duty for $75,000. And then we come out and we're like, okay, well, on a 2.5% interest rate, your payment's $1,000. Like, that payment's really high. Well, a rookie salesperson would have been, oh, okay, well, let's do what we can to lower it, versus just going, yeah, it's a $75,000 truck. It's crazy. All right, what do you think? Right? It's a complaint before it's a solid objection. So it's always good to acknowledge what, don't be like, I was kind of being, what's the word I'm looking for? It's kind of being a punk, right? You want to be respectful, right? But it's always good to handle those as complaints initially until it's like, oh, they're really firm on this. So if somebody says like, oh, you charge 6%, like that's kind of high, and be like, oh, I completely understand. But like we talked about, again, you're acknowledging, but you're not going, okay, let me discount my commission, because chances are you just got to give it a little resistance and it'll fall right over. But if they're going, no, I'm not going to pay you more than X percentage, then you have to make a decision. Am I going to, like, I would keep pushing as far as I could, but if it's finally like, you're like, no, I don't care if you guarantee me 100,000 more and they're going to sell it for 100,000 less, I'm only paying this much. I mean, at that point, if it's me, I'm going to take the deal unless it's like $1,000 or something. If I can do the math in my head, okay, it's going to cost me, $800 to get the house ready, and it's a $300,000 single family in Orem, it's probably going to sell pretty quick. Okay, what's my risk here? Okay, I'm $900 out. I'm going to lose out on potentially $6,000, but I'll still pocket 5,000. It's a business decision at that point, right? But don't go there unless it's like hard pressed. Does that make sense? Any other lessons learned? Question, comments?
I really like the take the territory. You did that on the presentation one,
Mhm.
and I didn't post it, so I appreciate you saying that. But that makes one, I think that gives you a professional advance, but also lets you take control of the entire situation, which is cool.
Yep. Yeah, because if not, they may start asking you questions as you're walking around the house, like, so what do you charge? And what are you thinking about pricing my house at? And I always just refer back to, yeah, here in a second, we're going to go through everything. I'm actually going to just show you guys my whole process. Is that cool? Like, I handled their question, but I'm not jumping into, they have no reference. If I say charge 6% right now, they might go, what? Get out, right? Like, that doesn't work. So yeah, I would say take your territory, but let's move on real quick. So current mission, we talked about this last week. We're just going to go over it again. Database, again, minimum of 200 contacts as soon as possible. I'll say two things real quick. Number one, I got you guys. So if you keep showing up, we're going to figure out a way to get you business regardless. But I'm also going to say on the other hand that it's going to get a lot harder. So if what you're doing right now is not working, expect it to not work even more in 2 months, right? Furthermore, if what you're doing is working right now, expect it to take more as we continue into this market that we're going into. The only good thing about the market we're going into is that it will get agents out of the business. You just have to make a commitment right now, whether you're going to be one of them, right? Because I promise you, you're going to see a lot of people getting out of this business because it's going to get a lot harder. But if there's less people showing up to the buffet, how much more food is there to go around? A lot, right? So you just have to have that mental commitment that you're going to stick it through it no matter what. But it starts with making sure you're taking the right actions and not slacking on getting everything set up. Because if you don't have a database in 6 months, right? Like that's what I was talking to Kate and Cash and all them in group coaching yesterday, that week by week, it may not feel very urgent right now, but there's going to be a day in December when you haven't made any money and you're going, oh my gosh, I just wasted half the year. What do I do now? And you're going to have to make a very hard choice on whether to stay in this business or not. And chances are at that point, you're not going to be strong enough to stay. So although week by week, it may not feel urgent now, it's urgent. In 90 days, you're going to look up and have no money if you don't get it together. So let's make sure that we're taking the right actions. And again, I'm here for you. I got you. Like if you show up for me, I will show up for you. I will freaking, if it came down to it, I would hand you a deal if I had to keep you in the business, right? So let's just figure it out. But again, database of 200 people as soon as possible. Lead generate every day. If there's nothing else you do but to talk to people every day about real estate, that is the easiest way to get business and it's proven to work. And again, if you, I don't want to hear that you're like, I want to hear if you're nervous to talk to people or uncomfortable with it, but I don't want to hear you're not doing it because of that. Because as we've talked about numerous times to everybody, just to figure out the right way you can do it, just using the scripts that I've given you and making them your own so it doesn't feel awkward. I'll give you an example. I made a commitment a week ago that anybody I talk to, I'm either going to ask for a referral or an appointment with, and I encourage you to take the same commitment. Yesterday, guess what? I got a referral and it was off of like 4 or 5 contacts into my lead gen that took an hour, right? But it's just that same thing. It's like, it was, trust me, it's not comfortable. I felt really awkward about it, to be honest with you, but doing it is going to get you the result. And how many times have you guys hopped on the phone and like you got 2 BBA signed this week, probably based on asking questions, right? Paige called 1 person and got a potential for 3 deals. Is it going to turn into 3 deals for sure? I don't know, maybe. But just the fact that 1 call in, she already had the opportunity to potentially earn 3 different deals. Does that make sense? And then GPS 411, again, all of these things are for you, not for me. As much as I push them and I probably sound like your dad or your teacher or whatever, trying to make you do stuff you don't want to do, it's not for me. Like my business doesn't change. Obviously, like on the coaching side, like my results are directly impacted by what you choose to do and not do. But generally speaking, my life goes on whether you do this or not. So I'm not holding you to this for me because I just want to see, you know, a line item on your GPS just to make me feel warm and fuzzy at night. No, it's because I know if you start to uncover, like I'll give you an example, Cash and Tyler and even Kate, last like group coaching yesterday. Did you find that it finally clicked to you why we use these tools? Where it's not just, you're just putting stuff down for fun, but it's like, once you actually deep dive into these things, you will quickly see the value in them and you will see the results happen immediately because you'll start seeing business picking up, your productivity will increase, your daily feelings about yourself will increase because you're just gonna be a better individual by taking time to set the path for yourself. And then graduated group coaching. So we had like 6 of us, I think, yesterday. I'd love to see more of you. So group coaching is once a week where we break down in the next 7 days, what are 3 things you could do of the highest impact for your business and personal life to make sure that you're rocking and rolling. To get into group coaching, you need to have, again, Ignite, Launch, Pro U, and case studies completed. Once those are done, you can join us. Review new scorecard. Again, we simplified it and as well as this 30, 60, 90, and then just have your 411 filled out. Come grab me if you have questions with that. I will definitely help you do that. Any questions, comments, or concerns moving forward? We're wrapping up a little early today. Awesome. Next. Is there anything you guys need? How's it going? Who here is doing lead generation daily? Cash, Tyler? Okay. How many are doing it at least twice a week? Okay, awesome. What can I do to help you guys get a little more done or help you through some struggles or just in general? How can I be of service to you? That's it? Okay. Any lacking knowledge or information? Again, I'm doing my best to try to put together some trainings like today that are more applicable to getting you business quicker, not just general know-how. Go ahead.
If there could be a class on like detailed things about 1031 exchanges, because lots of people who have lots of equity in their house, they might want to keep their capital, but like explaining the ramifications of capital gains taxes versus putting your money back down on another property, a like for like property, and like the time frames and timelines, and a good class on that I think would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm even happy to just quickly chat about a couple of takeaways you guys could have. So when do capital gains apply on a house? There are 2 circumstances.
Rentals?
So yes, okay, so you guys know that Karen said rentals, Cash said if you owned it for less than 2 years, to summarize. Those are the only 2 times capital, I mean, and also if you sell $1 million house and you make above $500,000 net, but like, that's not gonna happen much, right? So generally, with most clients, the 2 rules of thumb is if they've lived in it for less than 2 years, they'll pay capital gains. And if they do not live in it currently and sell it, they'll pay capital gains. So with regular residential clients, don't worry about capital gains unless they've lived in it for less than 2 years. So if they live in the house, they own the house, don't stress. If they are selling it as a rental, that's when a 1031 exchange would come into effect. Best practice is get the title company involved. Again, although David, I'd love to teach you and I'm happy to, don't feel like you have to know everything. Just know where to find the people and info that can help you, because 90% of the time you are not involved in a 1031 other than the timeline to make sure the sale happens and the new buy happens. Outside of that, you're not handling any back-end paperwork or processing. There's one document that attaches to the REPC. That's it. So it's always best practice to get the people that facilitate that side of things in touch with your client, because that takes the heat and pressure off of you. There have been so many transactions where I like literally today, I'm doing land deals in Richfield. That's like $3 million worth of real estate. And half the time, I don't know what is going on, but I know where to find the people that do, right? That's all that matters. So just being transparent with you, don't think you have to have it all figured out. You just have to be available and hardworking and willing to put in the work to find out how, and people will respect that and work with you because of that. But yeah, David, I would say there's a couple trainings that have happened here. I'm wondering if they were recorded. If so, I'd love to send them to you, because they'll probably do a better job explaining the intricate details than I will. But simple best practice, get a title company involved, and they should have either an in-house 1031 or a third-party company they use. And it's as simple as just connecting the dots and people, and then kind of stepping back and letting it take place. Does that make sense?
And right.
Yep.
Isn't there old KW YouTube videos too from old Ignites and stuff that he could watch?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's what I was saying. I wonder if there's a recording. I'll look it up
I'm
real
sure
quick.
there is. Yeah,
I'll check just real fast.
I
Yeah,
need
that's
to do
helpful
that
because,
too,
like, I thought
because
I
I'm
had to
doing
pay
one.
capital gains on my house when I sold it, but I've had it for 5 years, so it's good to know that I don't actually owe, like 30% of that equity I'm gonna pull out.
Nope, you'll be golden, man. As long as you don't make above 500K, you're chilling. So yeah, you should be golden. And even then, a lot of the time with the residential property, if it's an investment, they're going to pay 1031 or capital gains. But if they're a regular, so I have an example. I have a client who sold a townhouse in Draper, Jeremy. And he got a 1099 at closing because there's a questionnaire they have you answer at closing as a buyer or seller, as a seller, that says like how long you've lived in the property, is it ever used as a rental? There's like a sales price limit and a net proceeds limit, and if you exceed those amounts, they will issue you a 1099, similar to how we get paid. The best practice there is don't play CPA with your clients if they have a tax related question. Always recommend they talk to their CPA. Am I going to pay capital gains? Simple, short answer. Have you lived there 2 years? Yes, probably not. Have you not? Yes, I've lived there 1 year. Okay, talk to CPA. Before we list your house, let's get that information, because there's so many times, or even like give you a random one, FERPTA tax, right? If they're a foreign person, meaning they are not a US citizen, and they sell a house, there is a tax from the government. It's like 15% that will get attached to the property that the seller either has to pay. But I've had it happen before where the seller committed fraud and lied and said they were a US citizen, then the buyer had to pay the tax. So you always want to make, that's a whole thing, but seller's disclosure will say FERPTA, yes or no. If it says no, and you're representing a buyer, you better make sure that seller pays that tax, or else your client is on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars. So anyways, it's a whole thing. But David, I'll look into that. And I would even recommend you go on the KW Westfield agents group and post about that and see if someone else has a recording. I just checked the YouTube and I didn't see one, but I know we've done trainings there before. And I'll see if I can find you some resources. Just keep it on my mind. But that's all I got for you guys today. If there are any
I have a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have a couple. Okay, I would like to learn how you figure out the 6% less expensive than homey thing.
I'll show you real quick.
Okay, and the other one is how is the best way to put my listing that I have right now on KSL and the Facebook Marketplace?
Okay, yeah, I'll quickly show you. Just 1 second. Let me pull up the stats real quick. Okay, so let me just drag these over to the other screen. Wait, what's going on? Come on up. All right, let me just share my other screen 1 sec. Okay. Oh, you guys can't see it then. Hold on, I'll figure it out. Give me a sec. Share my other screen again. Okay, you guys can see, which screen can you see, Karen? Can you see the,
I can see that wants and needs, KW wants and needs.
oh, perfect. Okay, good. Oh man, this is such a pain. Okay, won't let me open it on my other desktop, but let me see. I'll cheat the system. Just gonna give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna email them to myself. Okay. Okay, figured it out. So you can see my email now, Karen?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so these are what the stats look like. It's basically, I do a 1 year spread of the median, very specific, do median. Median looks better. You fudge the numbers a little bit, I'll be honest with you, but median looks better. So search criteria, I'll show you how to get this at some point, but basically it breaks down the or the median sales price in the state for that office. So this one's homey. So what I do is I go through and I add up 101% plus 100 plus 101 plus 97. Anyways, you get the idea. Add all these together and divide it by 13 because it's technically 13 months between these two categories. and it'll give you an average. I think it's 101.1% is what their average is right now. So I'll write that at the bottom, 101.1%. And then I'll look at the KW stats and it should be like 103.9, right? Well, then simple math, what's 103.9 minus 101? It's like 2 point whatever percent, right? And so I'll write that down on homies and I'll say 101.1% dash 2.9% less than us. So in my presentation, when I'm about to go into commission negotiation, I'll pull these out. I'll say, real quickly, I always just like to touch on this because I know everybody and their dog is seeing homies billboards talking crap on agents about how expensive we are and everything else. I like to illustrate this just to show you that in fact, we're actually 2.9% less expensive than homie because they traditionally undersell houses compared to an office like ours. Does that make sense? Right? It's very simple math. So that's what I'll show
So you
them.
actually take these papers
Yep.
to show them. Okay, cool.
Yep. And I've actually had sellers before go, oh, it's funny you brought that up. I was actually going to interview homie. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I brought these. You know, what was your other question? There's something else I was going to show you. Oh yeah.
It was, how best to put my house on KSL and Facebook.
So go over here to KSL, you go to homes and you go to, let's see, add listing
Okay.
for sale. You got to have a login, so log in.
Right.
And then you just hit for sale by agent and then you just fill out this information. So you just look at your MLS sheet, fill out the info, upload the photos, hit continue and then submit.
Perfect.
And then Facebook. Okay, so you go to the marketplace. And then you go to create new listing. Home for sale or rent, and then same thing, fill out the info on the left-hand side, upload the photos, and then hit submit.
Perfect. Okay. I'm going to do that today.
Awesome. Sweet. Anything else I can help you guys with?
Is there any other place that I should be doing that other than KSL and Facebook?
I don't personally do it anywhere else. I don't really
Okay.
know where else you could do it, like Craigslist, I guess, but I don't know how many people look on Craigslist anymore.
Yeah.
Only other thing I'd recommend you do is do a Facebook ad for your listing, just because that's a way for you to get buyer leads and also get additional exposure for your listing.
Okay. All right. All right. I have not done that before too, so I will have to learn how to do that, but I'm assuming it's not that hard.
Yeah, let me know. Happy to. In fact, why not? We got time. If you guys aren't a fan, I'll just
Okay.
show you.
Perfect. You are awesome. I
Oh,
know I
thank you.
keep telling you that, but you are.
I appreciate that. Thanks for showing up. That's all I can ask
Yeah.
for. Okay, so you go to command, you go over to campaigns.
Okay.
You'll see this is team campaigns because I'm on a team, my team. But anyways, go to paid ads, and you'll have nothing here. But hey, look, I got a lead today. Nice.
But would I go
the-
to the team or would I do my personal one?
No, you're not on a team. I have Right Key Real Estate. It's just the reason I do it for Sawyer and I. So I was talking to Paige and Tyler about this, because if you're working with the partner and you set yourself up as a team on command, you share a database versus having two separate command accounts. So I have
Right.
mine set up as a team, and I also had a agent with me for a while. But anyways, hit create campaigns. You do social ad, and you can go watch the recording at the end of this, Karen. So that's the great thing is this will be recorded. So just go to the end of this video, have it sent to you. So although you're advertising a listing, what's our real intention here?
To
Okay,
get
what I really want to do, attract buyers, right?
attract buyers, yeah.
Give you a cheat code, never advertise it on Instagram or Twitter. It's garbage. They're terrible conversion rates. You're gonna waste money. So
Oh,
Facebook
good to know.
only. And I'm just gonna say draft, right? So create campaign. And then I'm gonna do something real quick. Because I'll just show you one of my ads I'm running right now, just to give you guys kind of a reference. So I'll come back to that. But anyways,
Sure.
Karen, do you know the address of your listing?
Yes, it's 3, oh shoot, I just lost it. It's
Oh, you're good.
310, I think. Let me look. Where is my listing? I'll bring it up. Oh, come on. Not pick the right one. It's 800 East, it's 310 South, that was right. 800 East, apartment 9, Salt Lake City.
Okay.
Yep.
309,000?
Yep.
Okay, so you're just gonna literally go in there to listing, select listing, you'll search for yours, you'll hit this listing. It'll automatically pull your photos on here. Then you're gonna
Oh.
go into text. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a cheat code real quick. Go to my other ads real fast. I'll show you what I'm doing.
Okay.
So this is the St. George short-term rental I just listed.
Uh-huh.
Oh, dude, what happened there? All right, whatever. So I didn't copy over my full description just
Uh-huh.
because you only have number one, you have a shorter amount of characters you can use. But what I did here is I just took like a condensed version. Why wait 6 to 8 months to build? Don't miss this great price. So that's not in my listing description. Nightly rental zone home for sale near St. George, amenities like pickleball courts, whatever. And then when they see the title or description, it's going to say new home near St. George and so on. So that's what I'd recommend you do is you don't have to say you will love this well-kept garden level condo. It's a wonderful location. I would condense that. Like what's like the hot buttons in this condo. So, don't miss this well-kept garden level condo right near the University of Utah. Like you
It's
or
good
don't
for
miss
you
this great
students,
price.
university.
Yeah, don't miss this great priced, well-kept garden level condo right near University of Utah, perfect for students or,
Right.
affordable housing. Or so maybe don't keyword that, but you know what I'm saying? Like you just hit the hot buttons, like the keywords, and then your
Mhm.
headline could be something. So again, that's where you put this here. So I'd say like, whatever, don't miss this. And I'm totally butchering this, by the way, so don't judge, but don't miss this well-kept garden level condo near University of Utah, perfect. And another cheat, so anyways, I did the description right. Another cheat code is throw emojis in your description because it'll pop when it's looking like someone's feed, right? Title, I would say like great price.
Did you say yes? Yes, throw emojis in or no?
Yes, and specifically emojis that like a siren or like, you know what I mean? Like loud
Okay.
emojis for like a fire
Okay.
emoji, 100, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Your headline, I would say something like great priced condo near U of U, right? Like
Perfect.
word
Yeah.
it. Description, you could throw a little more about the condo in there. So let's move on. Media, again, this is where you can just choose photos. This photo's fine. You could always go in and add like the photo of the kitchen as well, like maybe 2 or 3 photos. Then hit
Yes.
save. I'll teach you a couple secrets. Facebook settings. Karen, you're gonna have to learn how to do a landing page. Write that down real quick.
Okay.
So on a Facebook ad, never, ever, ever click site or landing page. Okay, that is like the one golden rule above all else. Because if you do this,
Do not mark that.
no, because you won't get any leads, right? The whole
Oh.
way you get leads through Facebook is they fill out a form on Facebook before it sends them to the website that captures their info. If you set this, you're not gonna get their info. You're just basically you're paying them to click on your stuff or whatever, you know what I mean? Or vice versa. You're paying money for them to click on it. So
Oh,
always, Facebook lead generation form. Here it's gonna ask, what account. So I'm gonna set it up for my account, right? Key Real Estate, whatever. Then you can make a landing page, which Karen, you'll have to go watch a video on. So in this case, let's pretend I've already done that. So Adorable Payson Rambler, cool. So what's gonna happen is they're gonna click and it's gonna give them or give me their info. Then they're gonna get sent to this landing page. As far as location, I usually do 10 to 30 miles max of the location of the property, right? In this case, with my St. George listing, I did like St. George or Washington County, and I also did Utah County. I have 2 separate ads just to hit target audiences. But anyways, no, I don't do custom, saved audience, nothing, just generic, because Keller Williams paid Facebook billions of dollars to get their algorithms down. So I wouldn't try to do on your own. Just follow what they have, right? And then duration and budget, I would recommend 7 to 10 days duration and $30 to $50 budget, because that's like enough money per day to get enough leads. Just looking at past ads I've done, just to give you an idea. So De Palma listing, exactly, I just showed you guys to set it up. I spent $50, I got 19 leads, right? Mitchell listing, again, $50, 20 leads. Another one, Aharoni listing, I only got 6 leads, but I ended up canceling it or did it early, whatever. Hanson listing, 6 leads. You can see 15 to 25 leads for $50 normally. These ones I got 16 for 30. Couple of these, I've had some crazy ads before. I got like 60 leads before. So if you do it right and you have a good process with it, it's like cheat codes. It's like $1 a lead, even if it's a crappy lead, it's, you go spend $1. I spent $40 in McDonald's today, right? So that could have turned into a deal. Think about it. I've literally spent probably no more than $2,000, maybe $3,000 on Facebook over the course of 3 years. Actually, I would say total marketing on command, including postcards. And I've easily made $150,000 to $200,000 from like Facebook in general, social media. But
Perfect.
It's gotta get creative. So that's the basic steps. Karen, any questions?
Not at this moment, but I'm gonna rewatch this and try to go through it all and get it done.
Awesome. And then again, at the very end, just publish the campaign, and there might be some extra steps. You have to link your Facebook business profile to command. You have to have a credit card on there. So Alex Leitu's is the one to ask for that stuff to help you do
Okay.
that. But otherwise, you're good to go.
Okay, when you say your business profile, so is it on a business Facebook page or your
Yep.
personal? Okay, so
Business.
you need a business page, Facebook page, right?
Yep,
I
Yep.
do have, but I don't use it that often.
that's fine. I would, yeah, you should. You should maybe post like 1 to 2 times a week about real estate. We can
Okay.
talk about making a plan for that.
I co-
But that's what I use mine primarily for, is advertising. So.
Perfect. There's
Cool.
just so much to do. It's like, what do
Oh,
I
no.
pick now?
That's where it's like 4 legs of a chair analogy, right? If I told Cash
Yeah.
to sit, or Tyler to sit, or Casey to sit on a chair that had 1 leg, the chair's probably gonna fall over, right? But if it has 2 legs, like, it'll fall over, but maybe not as bad. 3 legs, you could kind of balance it, but 4 legs, it's gonna be pretty solid. So it's like, pick 4 things you like to do for lead generation and master them until you change direction. So for me, I would say it's SOI, open houses, social media, generally speaking, like posting on social media, and then Facebook ads. And then I also have I do cold calling, like geo leads and FISBOs, but like those are the 4 things I can consistently rely on me to get business because I've mastered them. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you, Karen. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
No problem. If you guys need
Awesome.
anything else,
I think that's it. That was all my questions.
Cool. Hope you enjoy your day. I'll see you soon.
I will, you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.